This is Domain to Profit, where we look through expired domain names and find the best ones for development. Development of what? Well, ideally, we're looking for domain names that we can develop into businesses that can, generate revenue, generate a life for us, generate something that helps us meet our goals, or just sometimes just something pretty cool that we can build. So if you have not visited us the show, if you're watching this on a restream or something, welcome. This is meant to be a live show. So if you're watching on a restream, we want to make sure that you come back to us. I'm checking right now. Somebody's mentioning audio. I show that it should be working. So I'm going to wait for confirmation in the chat if audio is. Anybody else not hearing me? I show it's going out. Okay, good. Yeah, I was just quiet at first. Sometimes I just need a moment. Okay, I'm always shy on the old audio issues. Well, it is live, as you can tell. This is there's not some kind of crazy scripted thing. So if you're watching this on Restream, there's great content ahead, but you will want to make sure to join us 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because you don't just get me, you get all the people in the community, which we are a community of people that are out to develop domain names, not just buy them and invest in them. So, which we talk about that a little bit as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you say hi in the chat. Let us know you are here. Today, the idea of loss is going to come up a little bit. So if there's a domain name that you have missed out on, maybe it was at an auction that you really wanted, or maybe like me, you just lost it because you got distracted or whatever. Share in the domain in the chat a domain name that you've lost out on that you wish you would have gotten, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But until then, this is Domain to Profit. See you on the other side of this.
From domain to profit, from a dot to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Wash and get started right now.
All righty, and I am Drew Wash, and thank you for everybody joining in. And I'm always so, like I mentioned, gun shy about the old audio issues. We've had that in the past quite often. So I see Michael joining in here. Hello as well. And I am hoping that I don't get slapped, although my wife Crystal is upstairs, so I need to watch out because she might come down here and let me know things for sure. She's never slapped me, but I've gotten some dirty looks for sure. And yeah, the what happened at the Oscars last night, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Drama. So, not so. I never. Did anybody actually watch live? It's not something I watch live. I just catch it on Twitter, where I get all my news. And let me grab a couple other people here. Yes, thank you. And yes, I have my coffee. I missed it last week. I desperately need this. It keeps me energized. Matt, howdy, folks. Indeed. And see, it's not even. See, you just talk amongst yourselves. And yes, Lucy, I always say El Couch because I never want to, if you're anonymous in the chat, I don't want to give it away who you are or anything. So, and yes, thank you, Matt. That was up next. So if you haven't already, make sure you like this video. I very much appreciate you doing that, especially right off the get-go, because on live videos like this, the sooner we get those likes, the more exposure that YouTube gives us. So like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. You should definitely subscribe. So yeah, Hollywood is weird. Everything's weird, right? Everything's weird, why is it all weird? Well, we're billions of people sharing some crazy blue marble floating through space, and we're all really, really different, which you're here with me, Jake, and everybody else. We're really, really weird, right? We're here to talk about domain names, expiring domain names, developing businesses and stuff. And you know what? Most of the world out there couldn't be bothered. They don't care. But like, this is for us. It creates this great opportunity for us because, well, while they're all out there doing whatever it is that they do, we get to come here, look to these expiring domain names. And as we talk about each week, these are auctions. These are domains, the .com real estate of the internet, and they go through this process where somebody registered this domain name at some point in the past. They, for whatever reason, their dream ended. The domain name expires, and then we get to come in, and if we find it in the list of hundreds of thousands of domain names, we can enter into that auction and buy that domain name and build on it. Now, that's what we're here for. So while they're all out there, we're here looking for opportunities, and that's what we're going to find. So, alrighty, let me get my bearings here, and we will head over to the expireddomains.net, expireddomains.net. This is where we hang out. So you will want to visit expireddomains.net, and you'll see right down here, I put together a video as well as some screenshots and things showing you the filters that we will use to go through hundreds of thousands of domain names over in the marketplace, these expired domains. Well, the filters that I use for this show, I show you how to set them all up. And the reason why I show you on that video is because I have them saved in just like that. We will take that hundreds of thousands of domains, and we got it down to 87,000. So there's still a whole lot of domain names. And we're going to come over here, order by valuation, bringing the most expensive ones up to the top. And here we go. Here we go. So what we're going to do during the course of this show, as we do each week, we're going to go through these domain names. They are very much live. These are domain names that I can buy, you can buy, anyone out there can enter in and buy these at auction. So before they ever hit registration, if you go to GoDaddy and you type in a domain name, it's available. Well, these domain names will likely never hit available because, well, they're going to go through auction before they ever go to that. And so if you ever wonder, like, why can't I ever get a good domain name? It's because you got to know this first. You have to know about this opportunity. And if you don't, you're going to miss out. So check out that video if you need to set up the filters. And I have instructions on that page. So I'm going to pull that off for now. So the way that we do this each week is we just kind of roll down through this list. We find the domain names that are best for development. What are we talking about development-wise? Well, we're talking about domain names that we can build on, domain names that are especially good for development. So we want to be able to put a business on it. In fact, let me go over to, oh, look at that. There we go. I got my other laptop over here. Remember this screen? This is a little image. This is a little sketch I did. And what I want to come back to this as often as possible, because a lot of times people will ask me, so let's say we go over to the screen here, and let's say selectproperties.com, or Laserdisc or Perfect Woman. These are some good domain names, right? They sound great. And you look over here at these valuations that GoDaddy has provided us with, and GoDaddy says they're worth thousands of dollars. And it's like, ooh, it's like there's a hook just like floating in the water, and it's looking for somebody that's like, oh, I want a perfectwoman.com, and they bite on it, willing to pay thousands of dollars. But realistically, is it a good deal? Well, this right here is what we're looking for. So any domain name can be great real estate. It can be great real estate. You can build anything you want to. I mean, look at Google, google.com, giant website, horrible domain name, just matches their brand, right? What they did was took a great domain or a domain, and then they built an enterprise on it. They took it, built something on it. Other people can come in, you can buy and sell. I feel like a weatherman here. But you have the for sale, that's one of the options as well. You can buy a domain name, perfectwoman.com. Maybe you can get it at auction for a few $1,000s and then find somebody out there to sell it. But what we look for specifically on domain to profit, as we talk about each week, beat it into our heads, is we are looking for this here. We're looking for the gold, the oil under the ground that is just part of that land, part of that digital real estate. It's .com real estate of the internet, and any domain name out there you can build a enterprise on. But realistically, only certain domain names have that valuable minerals, valuable oil, value underneath it, in the form of validation, authority, and an industry presence that gives you instant credibility when you use that domain name. And then all we do, instead of building some giant enterprise, we're looking to just tap. Just put a little tap. You ever see, like college, we did the keg tapping? Anybody? Okay. Well, we tap it, and then we're just looking to pull some revenue out. You don't have to even know anything about the industry. So that's what we're looking to do as we look through this list of domain names. So here we go. I'm gonna I'm gonna skip over Perfect Woman. That sounds like it's going to end up as an adult site most likely, or maybe some woman's clothing brand. But that's a brand. You can take that domain name. It sounds really good. I love it because it's like, you've heard people say perfect woman, right? You've heard people say that, and that means that it's a really good brand. It's something you can put perfect woman on a label and do a clothing line, something like that. Let me see. So that's certainly an option, but for the sake of this show, we want domain names that we can tap. They already have like money behind them, which as we dive into a couple of these, you'll see exactly what I mean. There's money there, and all we need to do is tap into it. So there's just because they're at the top of the list, just because GoDaddy values them, we know. And if you didn't know, now you know. The ones that just are listed as most expensive, it doesn't mean that they're the most valuable, especially from a domain development standpoint. So when we talk about the idea of, losing in these things, it's not just as simple as, buying a domain name and winning the auction. If you're going to lose, yes, you can lose an auction. Question is, can you lose an auction but still win? And I would say so. How is that? Well, I think winning comes down to two parts. To win, you have to, one, maybe get the domain name. That's a win. But the second part is really important, which is you have to get the domain name at or below what you value that domain at. Have you ever bought a domain name? It may be valuable, but you paid too much for it. Yeah, I've done that on several occasions. So let's find one here. Let's getvisitors.com. I like that one. That one's pretty good. So let's dive into this one here. We're going to click on it. It's going to pull us over to GoDaddy. We do look at other domain marketplaces, not just GoDaddy, but for the sake of the show, a lot of times you'll find that we do end up here at GoDaddy, their auctions, because they have the majority of them. So, or a lot of them. Getvisitors.com, I like it. $155 currently, 1 day, 1 hour left. We already have bids happening on it. You know I'm against that. I want you to wait till the last minute. We don't want to grab attention. But let's grab getvisitors.com. We're going to just grab Get Visitors. And if you saw last week, I checked, SpyFu is still blocking me. I'm going to have to pay for it for next week. So I am over on SEMrush. Hopefully you see that right up there, semrush.com. And I'm just typing in Get Visitors. So I dropped the .com. I got rid of the .com. I just want to look at those keywords. This is where we're getting into looking at the soil underneath the land, the domain names, the property, the domain names, the real estate, but what's underneath the ground. In this SEMrush, as well as the tool that we use a lot of weeks, SpyFu, they give us an idea of what that is. So getvisitors.com, and you can see here, this is a search volume, about 20, really nothing happening. Some people type it in, some people search for that keyword, not really setting any records. We certainly see on other domains higher numbers. Keyword variations. Keyword variations give us keywords that are very similar or our keyword in those variations. Sometimes we'll find that we can get more traffic from that. In this case, I'm not seeing it. It's not a good example of that. For example, do death row inmates get visitors? Get visitors, the domain name we're looking at, getvisitors.com, is part of do death row inmates get visitors? So maybe you're curious about that. Maybe you want to get visitors.com, answer that question on your website, and that would give you access to 390 searches a month. Why though? Why? Like, what do these matter? Well, that's where the money piece comes into it. This one's a bad example. We'll find better ones during the course of the show, most likely. But you'll see over here, this is where the money is. So there's really there's no cost per click. There's no ads or anything for this domain name. So this one falls under a brandable domain name, a domain name that may be pretty good. It may be worth money, but you're not going to buy it to develop it unless you're going the long route of doing like a blog or something along those lines. Dr. Detox. That sounds like what a great brand, right? That sounds good. But, nobody knows what that is. If we do a search, it's not going to really find much. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll keep looking. I know we'll find some good ones. I know there's, I believe, organicfarm.com will show up at some point today. In fact, maybe I should just search for it. That was one that I've seen talked about on the internet. It's a pretty good domain name. Let me not go too fast here. And if you see something that I'm missing, feel free to call it out in the chat if you're willing to. I know some people, if I don't mention it on the show, they're like, yes, victory, Drew missed it. It doesn't get that extra exposure. And then you can go and buy it yourself, right? But we're not. So we got Dab Supply if you're a cannabis person. Yep, I was let me see, Stuart just mentioned that as well. I was just looking at it, flowergrowers.com. I'm guessing they have a fancier name than just Flower Growers, but we'll find out. So this one ends in about 5 days, $15 currently, meaning it's cheap. There's not too many people messing with it. So in cases like this, when we're not seeing a bunch of action already, do not bid on the domain name till later. Guys like me will wait till the end of a domain name to bid on it, but we look for domain names based on activity sometimes. I look at nearly every day, just a quick search just to see if I've missed any domain names that are active right now. And when you're bidding on domain names early, you're letting people like me know that that domain name is getting action. So you want to avoid it. You do not want to give it any attention. You want to wait until 5 minutes and 10 seconds left in the auction. Why is that? Because, well, if a domain name gets a bid in the last 5 minutes, it extends the auction by 5 minutes. So when you bid at 5 minutes, 10 seconds, voila, it just counts right down to zero. And if nobody saw it within 5 minutes, you win. Makes sense, right? So here we go, flowergrowers.com, 140, so search volume's pretty low, but we do have at least a cost per click over here. No ads are appearing according to SEMrush. I don't know if I buy that. I don't think I buy that. Let's go test it out. Here we go. So I'm just going to do a big old type. I'm just going to type it into Google. Yeah, I figured there'd be some, of course you want to know my location. There's going to be some ads here. I'm not sure why they don't show up in SEMrush. I really miss SpyFu. I'm going to have to pay for it or something to get that by next week. So here's some different florists and things. It really ticks me off that that they don't show those ads here. Why don't they show the ads? I feel like they should show the ads. Okay. Well, either way, they don't show them. So maybe there's just not that much action under it and they're not picking up on the ads, or they're doing some fancy calculation on it. Let's see if down here, yeah, they're just not showing any ad copies or anything. So maybe SEMrush, I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. Well, either way, they know there are ads because they have some cost per click type stuff, but they don't have anything as far as the actual ads themselves. Top ads appear for keyword analyze keywords. But we do show that there is traffic, even though this tool right here is not showing us that there are advertisers. We already saw with our own eyes a couple people that are there. They are saying that its cost per click is around $2. So there's people that are willing to pay for this keyword. Let's go down here. Okay, I like to see this. First of all, these numbers are low, so I'm not really loving the domain name from a development standpoint. I like to see the numbers higher than 100, 200. But if you want to reach this keyword here, flower growers near me, well, do you think that flowergrowers.com is a good domain name to target that keyword? In fact, can you even think of a better domain name to target flower growers near me than flowergrowers.com? No. I mean, even flower.com or flowers.com, like I think flower growers near me are going to have a better access to this keyword here, flower growers near me. So there we go. So that gives you a couple hundred extra searches. We got Skyline flower growers, not sure what that is, guessing that's a brand. Then we have wholesale flower growers near me. Boom. So you could target each of those keywords from the premium domain name of flower growers. So it's becoming a better and better domain name as we look at it. So now we have access to 210, 300, 400. So we're looking that we could possibly get 1,000 different things out of this: related keyword, commercial flower growers, all these different keywords that are flower growers you can target with this domain name. Buck or so per click. Anyhow, so what would you do with it? Well, if you see the flower growers near me, so this over here, when you see that, that means that you could localize the domain name. So maybe you can break flowergrowers.com and show you could show flower growers, near me. You can do a whole search where I'm in Cincinnati. Are there any flower growers near me? Boom. You could find different, flower growers. That is such a hard word to say. It's like a tongue twister. Okay. But you localize it. They come in, either select out of a directory or location, or you set it up to where they can search by zip code or even latitude, longitude. However you want to do, you get the location, you show the flower growers, not towers, the flower growers near them, and now you have access to a couple hundred searches. Now the question is, can you turn those couple hundred searches into value for the actual people that will pay you, which will be the flower growers, right? The farmers, the people that are out there creating the flowers. Well, we'll find out. So you would put together that thing, you'd sell them a membership or access on the domain name, and pretty easy thing. The only thing is, what was that going for? $15 currently. I do anticipate, so back to the idea of winning. If you want to win, you got to buy a domain name. You have to win the auction, but the price that you pay has to be at or below what you value the domain name at. What could you value a domain name like flowergrowers.com at? Well, we've seen that we could have a pretty good access to several hundred people a month that are looking for this topic, and the cost per click's around $1. So, give or take, you can kind of multiply those together, come up with an idea of, it's around $1,000 a month in revenue if you're able to convert that kind of traffic. Maybe it's $1,000, $2,000 domain name on the high side, As far as development goes, investment wise, I would say this domain name will go for a few $1,000s. Hard to say if it's worth it to us as developers to get it. But if you can get it for a few $100s, then yeah, it's probably a good domain name. It would be a win to get this domain name for $600, $700, $800, $1,200 even. And anything above that, you're going to start to get into, you really got to get it developed. You probably could spend your money on better domain names. Keep on moving. Grabbing Stuart's comment here. Stuart saying, I think it's a good keyword since you can't exactly get flowers shipped in the mail, so people need a local company. I agree. I like the keyword flower growers. I'm surprised that the keyword volume isn't as high. I would probably do something like bulk flower, or I'm guessing there's a keyword that people in the know would actually use. Flower growers sounds kind of elementary. It sounds flower nursery. I'm guessing something along those lines would be a little more of an official keyword. So there's going to be alternatives to flower growers, but the question is, when we're looking at this idea of authority, when we're looking back, if we go to the whiteboard, when we go here, validation and authority, if we call a flower grower or a nursery that grows flowers, and we say, hey, we own flowergrowers.com, and we have people that want to search in your area for you. Would you pay us $20 a month or something to be on Flower Growers? If they feel that being on that domain name will give them validation or authority, and they feel that the domain name connects with who they are, then yes, you may very well be able to pull off getting generating that revenue. Do you have to own the domain name to do that? I don't know. You could always try to call around and say, hey, we're looking at developing flowergrowers.com, and was wondering if you'd be interested in listing if we do. You can have a great conversation with somebody in that industry without ever actually having to buy the domain name. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a hypothetical conversation at that point. Do that, by the way, do that. If you were like, if you had $1,000 in the bank and you're like, hey, I've stumbled across this guy Drew's domain to profit, and I want to develop a domain name. I want to start a business with my last $1,000 or something, which that sounds like a horrible idea if it's your last 1,000, but if you aren't sure if this is the domain name for you, make some of those calls. Say, hey, if I develop flowergrowers.com, would you pay me $20 a month? Would you, become a member of this domain? What do you even think about the domain name? Now, what you do have to watch out for is they could go type the domain name in and join the auction. So that's part of why those conversations could be a little dicey. Oh yeah, let's keep on down the list here. Yeah, I see that Stuart's mentioned a florist. I definitely think florist, as far as like if you're looking for flower arrangements and stuff, I'm thinking every Mother's Day, when I was growing up, my mom and my aunts, they would buy trays of flowers, like bulk flowers, and they would go over to my grandma's and they would all like plant flowers for Mother's Day. So I think it's less of the arranged flowers and more of those bulk flowers. Or if you're a florist, where do you buy your flowers from? So there's opportunities there. It's just you do have to think about and know the market, who's going to be visiting that domain name, and then who's going to be your customer. Speaking of loss, over the weekend, I saw that I believe idea like light bulb idea, ideachat.com went for auction. I don't know what it ended up selling for, but I think it went for like $20, and I freaking missed out on it. I would have paid way more than 20 bucks for it. I wanted it. I think that's part of what we do here, right? This is idea chat. This is domain development idea chat. I was like, man, what a good domain for a geek like me. Good for development? Probably not, but it's not showing up on name bio yet. I was going to see what it ended up going for. Vegan stores? Let's see what that one goes for. I don't know. Oh, there we go. So this is one thing. Since these are expired domain names, they don't always make it to auction. You know, the person might renew that domain name, and whoever owned veganstores.com decided to, well, they noticed and they renewed it. And you'll sometimes even have domain names that you'll win the auction, but somehow they renew it at the last minute and it gets pulled. So don't go printing business cards and t-shirts until after you get the domain name in your portfolio. There is about a week or two after you win the domain name before you ever get it into your account. So it is going to be important that you got to hold off. Don't go doing your victory lap on Twitter telling everybody about the great domain name you won until after it's been paid and you have it in your account. I've heard horror stories about it being pulled from an account afterwards, but that's never happened to me. I don't know if that's really a thing. Now, I've paid, and then it got pulled back, and I got refunded, but I've never had it put into my domain account to where I actually have control over it. That would be like some not cool stuff. Tour page? I can see tour page, like it sounds like something that if you call a tour guide and you're like, hey, do you want to appear on tourpage.com? If you can get it for cheap, maybe something there. I'm going to pass over it. On to page 2. We're moving at a snail's pace. We'll pick up the pace here a little bit. Hopefully we'll find some good ones. But I like to get to the basic lessons, those basic things where we got to look at the cost per click, keywords, page analytics. That's spelled right? Seems like a pretty good. Ends in 4 days, $12 currently. So this is one that you certainly do not want to pay for. I'm sorry, you do not want to bid on this until the auction, until like last minute. So set an alarm on your phone, do whatever you need to do to wait. Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit more. PageAnalytics.com, 260 searches. They do rank it as a hard keyword to target in the search engines if you're wanting to show up in Google, which you probably do want to. So you'll want to consider that. But realistically, if you want to show up in Google for page analytics, having PageAnalytics.com is a pretty damn good foundation for you to build on. So let's see here. Page views, see, this is the thing, is all going to be Google owns freaking keywords analytics. Page views, so I'm thinking analytics or the reports and things related to a page, web page. So while there's keywords, while there's searches and things happen around it, while there's a decent amount of cost per click happening with it, they're not showing much in the form of ads for this exact keyword. So the different ads that we probably see under when we search for this on Google, it's probably that Google is showing ads that it thinks make sense for the keyword, but it's not they're not targeting this exact keyword. I'm guessing that's why there's nothing showing up here. But maybe there's an angle. I don't know what it would be. In fact, I'm going to move on from that domain name. We'll give it a star. We'll come back to it. But if you can get that one for cheap, might be fun. If let's say you're a data person and you geek out over that stuff. I geek out over data quite a bit, and maybe you want to do a blog that goes over it. PageAnalytics.com is a pretty damn good blog name, and if it's the perfect match for you for something you're interested in, then why not? It's worth a few $100s for sure. You're hungry. but advanced cannabis. So as we're reading down through these, all the time, you'll see domain names that seem like they're pretty good, like Dash Pal. That's not bad. That's a brand. Insurance Calendar. What is that? It sounds good. It's like insurance calendar, and they put them together. It's like, what's insurance calendar? You can make something up, but does it validate? Does it provide authority if you owned it? And you're like, hey, this is Drew with insurancecalendar.com. Who would hear that and think, oh, this is somebody I need to listen to? Like that's what you're going for. That little nuance where when they hear it, they go, oh, wait, what? You're with what? If I call a towing company and I let them know, like, hey, I'm Drew I'm the owner of towing.com, they go, wait, towing.com? What? Like it gets past some of their bullcrap filters. You know, they're getting calls from, I'm towing XYZ directory and different things. And what does that even mean? It doesn't get past the bullcrap filter. You really are in a hole and you have to dig out of it when you're doing that. You own a good domain name. Who's going to hear it and lean forward and say, okay, this is somebody I need to listen to. This is somebody that knows something about my industry, even if you don't. That's why a great domain name is your ticket into conversations that realistically maybe you don't even belong in. I don't know much about towing. Everything I know after I purchased the domain names. Man, interesting domain names going on here. I feel like we're not free financial advisors. I avoid the word free. I try not to use the word, even when we have stuff that is free, that has no cost. We don't use it. Like in my company, we always have something else. You can say, one of the things I got from my mentor, Darren Hardy, you don't say it's free, you say, I'm covering the cost. You know, it's a scholarship, or I cover the cost for it. Yeah, so I avoid the word free in almost everything I do. Like for the sake, domain to profit. I put a decent amount of time into this show. I've put a good amount of money into this show to come hang out with my peeps, hang out with you every single week. And could I charge for it? Maybe, but it's on my dime. I cover the cost for you. It's the domain to profit scholarship. It's something I do to be with and hang out with other developers, other people that are looking through domain names already. So it's not free. I just cover the cost. Makes sense that it's a marketing, like a nuance in the marketing there. Power Buddies, I like that. That's kind of fun. But we're not looking for fun. We're looking for domain development, which it requires that secret sauce, that little extra. And we are not finding. Come on. Sorry, let me go back up 1 second. Training content. Maybe if you're building some kind of common content. I mean, I could see that. Let's go with that. Let's check that domain name out. We haven't had so here we go. Training content. So what I'm thinking with this one, ends in 3 days, $12 currently. So let's say you like creating videos or whatever. You are a content creator. Maybe it's images, maybe it's videos. And now you want to find a way to find a specific market. You want to segment. You want to find your competitive advantage. Training content, 210 searches, by the way. Global volume, 4.2. You see in India, this is one nice thing about SEMrush versus SpyFu is it shows you the global reach. Yes, in the US, where I am, it's 210, India is 260, but you can see that it's a global, there's some global searches happening here. 210 though, trainer box contents, content marketing training. So what I'm thinking business-wise, if I was to develop this, again, some cost per click, not really having the top ads that appear for the analyzed keyword. So it is exact keyword is what's happening there. It's why it is showing a 0. But people want this keyword. So if you want to develop a business under trainingcontent.com, let's say you choose an industry. Maybe you already have a great domain name, maybe a towing.com or something. And training content, you can create content to sell maybe to towing companies as to that they can use on their websites for their visitors. So how do you prepare your vehicle to be towed? Something like that, or things that towing companies could pay you maybe $100 or something to buy to put content on their websites. Because towing company don't want to make content. They don't want to put a bunch of stuff together, but do they want to be helpful for their visitors? Absolutely. And you can build content and then sell it to a bunch of companies, especially local companies, maybe flower growers or something. So that'd be one option. I don't really 100% like it, but I've not done a 3-minute business plan. So who would be buying? Small businesses. Small businesses would buy the content so they can show it as, maybe you have a way to put a title screen that shows their company on it. So it looks like they're being helpful to their local audience. You automate it and put it up on the website. I can see that. I like that. Not going to do it, but maybe that's something you're interested in doing. Especially local companies, like if 100 different companies spread across the world have the exact same content, like it doesn't matter. That's perfectly fine. They're local. They don't need national, to be known as a national company. They want to be known in their local area. That's why I love local business. Love, love, love. Man, I feel like we are, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up a different browser tab here. I'm going to go back out to expireddomains.net. And since I feel like we're striking out a little bit, I know that I've seen this one. My buddy Peter Askew, organicfarmer.com. Not sure why it wasn't showing up on our list. I'll tell you here in a second. Oh yeah, see, there you go. So organicfarmer.com, Peter mentioned this one on his Twitter account. This is one you could already see over $4,000. I anticipated that it would go over $4,000. Somebody was asking me about it. It will go for even more than that. So I figured this one's a good opportunity. It's only going to be available this week if it actually goes all the way through the auction process. Let's analyze this keyword a little bit and see what this domain name is worth. In my little quick analysis, I was saying, like, if it goes for $4,000 or less, it's a good deal. Anything above that, it's going to be tough. But we'll actually see some numbers that are worth a darn here. Well, maybe. So we have global volume, 104,000 searches for organic farmer globally. Now, what's up with India, though? 74,000. I'm getting a bot vibe or something off that. I doubt. You think that in India is like searching for anybody here? Well, anybody here that knows? I don't believe that that's accurate. That's just anyhow. Okay, it's 390 in the U.S. There is some keyword volume. So what would you do? And here, let's go down here. That's what I want to look at. Organic farms near me. 3,600 searches for that keyword. So we always look at those keyword variations. We can't get stuck up here in this low number here. We have to look at the variations. And when we see near me tagged at the end of our keyword, right? That's what we're looking for. Organicfarmer.com. The issue that I have with it is, look, this is organic farms, organic farm. It's not organic farmer, right? That's painful. That means what do we see here? We see organicfarm.com would be a great domain name. Organicfarms.com would be a great domain name. Organic farming would be a great domain name. Any other ones that we see here? So we have 3 domain names at least that would all be great domain names to target the exact same keyword as this one. So that's why you got to pull back a little bit, use a little bit of caution, even if you think the domain name's great. And if you are into organic farming, if you're an organic farmer and you want to create a directory or something to take advantage or target these, 5,000 people that are looking for organic farmers near me, or organic farms near me, you can certainly do that with this domain name. Does it have authority and validation? Well, if you call up a organic farm or maybe an organic farmer's market or something, and you say, yes, hey, I own organicfarmer.com, and we are developing out, and we want to show all the all the farms out there that have a market where customers can come in and check it out directly or whatever. Would you be interested in joining? It's only $99 a year, and you show up in your local area in a 100-mile search. That way people can find you when they're searching, something along those lines. Are you interested? Yeah, I think the answer is yes. Like, they have an interest. They have the idea that it gives me validation. It gives me authority. It sounds like a great domain name. So it has that brandable with a little keyword behind it. The only thing is it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you to target, which, I'm assuming if you're not a farmer out there, if you're not already in this industry, you're going to be starting with 0, and you're going to have to build from there, which is why in my little calculations that I did when I first saw this domain name, because I was interested in it, and like I maxed out at $4,000, and the domain name was $1,200 at the time. So, but if you have a way to monetize it already, maybe you have a tie into farming, then it's probably worth significantly more. It's a good domain name, just a matter of, is it good enough for you to win if you buy it? So win, not just a matter of if you're willing to pay $20,000 for it, that's great, but you also have to, can you value it at that amount? Not just get caught up in an auction and pay too much for it, which happens all the time, even to me. I've lost domain names, both when I've won the auction, I've lost because I paid too much for them before. It happens to the best of us for sure. Let me check out chat over here. I see several people chiming in. Let me see. Oh, okay, excellent. Thanks for that information. Stuart's adding, there's news stories about farmers in India striking against their government. Possibly that is the cause of the inflated numbers. That could be. And let me see here. Seeing what this one is. Appreciate your shows. Giving my first time. Hey, yeah, I've seen your comments on the. Thanks for watching us on Restream when you do. Question is the best option. No, I prefer SpyFu. SpyFu locked me out. I have to pay for it now. I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that I've used it for a year and a half, close to 2 years without paying them. Ahrefs is another option. There's some good ones out there for sure to get keyword data. The keyword data a lot of times is pulled directly from Google, and then they do some formulas or do their own spiders and things. I really do enjoy SpyFu. I'm going to end up paying for it. I've said that though for like a year now. I'm sure Lee and others that are in the chat are like, dude, you've been saying that for a year. So yeah, I like SpyFu, which is exactly what it sounds like. Spyfu.com. You've seen it. It's best to say it fu, I guess. But I do enjoy that site just because I like the clean. It's so clean. You compare SpyFu versus this, it's like, yeah, you have a lot of data, SEMrush. I like that. I love all the data, but like, why don't you show that there's ads? Like, what's going on there? Like, why is that not there? I feel like usually, I don't know, something's missing here, and maybe I have a setting messed up, but okay, long story short, I prefer SpyFu. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons when I started to do the show, I was using SEMrush. I pay for SEMrush, by the way. You won't, if you follow along, you likely do not have access to what I have with SpyFu. You can do like 2 searches or something, and you have to register before you can do that. SpyFu is a lot of the same data. You can do most of it for free, evidently for like a year, but then when you do pay, it's pretty cheap. Versus, I think the entry level version of SpyFu or for SEMrush, I mean, we pay like $260 a month or something to SEMrush, which it's ridiculous. I'm saying it's ridiculous that that we pay that, and I barely even use the tool. I have some of my team members have reports and things that run using the tool, so that's why we pay for it, just so you know. Don't write letters. Yeah, and I mentioned this on Twitter, actually. John's mentioning this. If it shows up here, Google changed the API for AdSense. And yes, that is true. Like they used to provide some data that would allow even expireddomains.net. We never used them, but they had columns that showed you some additional like keyword volume and things. We didn't show them on the show, but they were something that you could turn on, and Google is now hiding that data. It's not available for bulk purposes. So if you were relying on that data, it's gone. You're not going to be able to get it now. So that's unfortunate. Big business strikes again. And who pays? Small business. As you know, I really don't like big business very much. Pickdeals.com. I kind of like that. That's a good brand. Pick Deals. Let's see what that's going for. Okay, pickdeals.com. That one is going for $27 currently, 5 days. I'm not going to look at the keyword volume. That looks like it's more or less a brandable type of domain name. Maybe if you have a Shopify store or something along those lines, maybe worth checking out. It's an investable domain name, meaning I think that people will like it if you could probably sell it for more than what you could buy it for. And that's the key, right? That's one of the ways to do it. I prefer to build stuff. I hope you're a builder too. If you're watching Domain to Profit, most likely you are. I hope you are. And if you're not, I hope you can decide to be a builder. There's enough people holding on to domain names and never developing them. We need domain names developed. It helps us all when we develop them. How is that, Drew? You might be thinking, like, why is me developing my domain names good for all of us? If we can just get back to where people actually will type in a domain name because they can count on there being content there, maybe we can pull back some of the power that Google has over all of us. That's the way the internet probably should have worked originally. Unfortunately, so many domain names went to those pop-up blog, all the pop-ups and all the ads. Does anybody even type in domain names anymore? I know they do, but it used to be like a lot of people did it. Nowadays, it's very small. But I think we can change it around. We can get it back. Cut Google out of small businesses. Okay, well, let's look real quick at this next page. Nothing's popping out. So let's go over I'm going to go into my Google account. I don't remember if I've purchased anything this week, but let's go find out. Each week, if I recall, I will share out the domain names that I purchased over the last week. And let's see what's showing up here. Yeah, it doesn't look like really anything's happened. Rapid Business Loan, that was a couple weeks ago that I bought that one. Let's see what I didn't win. Speaking of loss, so what are some of the ways? If you're not watching Domain to Profit, you may very well miss out on today's deals. There were some good ones. We'll review them here in 1 second. So some of the ones I did not get, the only one I missed out on was ideaspa.com. And I was meaning to bid on ideachat.com. Ideaspa.com, I actually was going to go up higher, a little bit higher than that. But I ended up walking away. So I ended up losing that one, even though I would have went a little higher. Why? I just love, like, it's not a perfect development domain name. It was more on the investment side, but I love the idea, and I mentioned it during last week's show, that idea of an idea spa. It's where you go to take an idea and expand it and grow it and rejuvenate it. And like, you bring an idea in, and then you can take it and make it something bigger. I don't know. Maybe my imagination got carried away with it. So those are the ones. Really nothing happening there with that. So, all right. You win some, you lose some. It happens. Let me see here. I'm not sure what you mean there, Darcy. Referring to professional SEOs prefer Ahref over H4. Suggest you find a group by. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've used SEMrush. I don't mind it. They don't even have like a free option though. Like that's the thing, is it drives me nuts to have to. I don't like that part. But I've used them as well. There's a couple other ones. Let's see. Similar Web, maybe. There's another one out there that will show you all the ads that have been running for a keyword and keyword data. There's a lot of cool tools out there. Don't get carried away with the tool. That's much of why I showed SpyFu for so long. Is I don't want you to get bogged down in a tool or having to pay for it. That's not what this is about. This is about being able to use a free tool, expiredomains.net, and finding good domain names to develop. And then you can even use free tools to develop them. There's some free no-code options. Actually, there's not. Whenever you go to connect a domain name, it's going to cost you a little bit. But you can do some cheap development, and voila, maybe you can get some, generate some revenue. When I bought, in fact, one of the domain names I most recently bought was Rapid Business Loan, right? Do you remember that one I bought? That one I purchased it for a very simple development. I saw the keywords were good. I knew that the business model was very aggressive in their sales. So now I can take that domain name, put up maybe a one-page development, maybe even two, maybe a page per company. I'm not sure yet, but you keep it simple. You build out a basic website. You charge the few finance companies that you want to have on there, $100 a month or some amount of money, whatever it is. Like I paid $708 for the domain name. If I can get 2 or 3 companies even to pay $50 a month, reoccurring, maybe a year contract or something, whatever you want to do with it, you're going to make that money back. So the easier the development, the better. So, but that's kind of what we're looking to do. We're just looking for nice, simple development options. Don't want to get too carried away. And if SpyFu's the nice tool for it, then so be it. Well, it is running up on an hour. I do have some questions, which I'm looking for some feedback on. The last most of a year, we have ran down through domain names in the way that we did today. We pull up expiredomains.net. We scroll down through them. And the question I have is, do you like that? Do you like the way we do it? It's casual. It's laid back. You can follow along exactly on your screen. That is one of the options. Now, the other option is, and I don't mind doing this, I can go grab a half a dozen domain names before the show, and we can talk about them and set things up that way. I'm kind of curious about your feedback, and I don't mind doing 50-50, or maybe one show is one way or another, but I'd love some feedback on the show, and I'm okay. I'm a big boy. I can handle your feedback. If there's something you don't like or something you do, hit me up on Twitter. My DMs are always open, or you can use the contact form over on, let me pull this up actually. So down here on the bottom, let me try to get that to where it shows up. You can go to domain to profit, dtp.tv is the short URL. or from domaintoprofit.com. And there you will be able to not only find that the filters, but you'll also be able to use the contact form and give me some feedback. Let me know what you like about the show, what you don't like, what you wish we had, because I am going to start organizing crap a little bit more. That's, what's going to happen is I'm going to go to this over here. I'm going to start using the whiteboards. We're going to have some prepared content to where we can have visuals to go with some of the concepts we talk about here. I want to get back to that because the ultimate purpose of the show is to get more domains developed. And if that's the case, I want to make sure I'm teaching and giving you those checklists necessary to make good decisions, quick decisions, and move things forward in a way that maybe we're not doing quite now. So, all righty. I appreciate you all, though. If you have not already, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, like the video. I appreciate you all. Yeah, I love that one, Lucy. Yes. Maybe I need a spin wheel. $1, $1. Maybe wheel of prizes. Yeah. I want to figure out how we can all work together to freaking develop some domain names and stuff. Like, I geek out over this stuff. I would really like to have that happen. So, well, I guess I gotta get off here. Let me see if there's any other announcements or anything. So, no, I guess not. If you have not, one of the reasons to subscribe is, as you probably saw, I did post a video with the filters on my YouTube channel. There are going to be more prepared videos over the next few months. I'm going to bring back some of the content that we've talked about on live shows. For example, the local Legion 300, the strategy I refer back to for getting your first 300 customers for a domain name that you can localize or regionalize. I'm going to pull that into its own little segment that you'll be able to watch. If you want to be notified when those things pop up on the channel, you subscribe. Otherwise, you got to kind of go and check it out each time. So, all righty. Well, I very much appreciate you joining me. I love hanging out with you. Thank you for all the chat. Thank you for the questions. And I'm Drew Wash. This is Domain to Profit. I'll see you next Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care.